So this past weekend, I spent a lot of time playing the new GTA Trilogy Definitive Editions on Nintendo Switch. I was extremely excited for this release. I have a ton of nostalgia for all these games. I think they're all-time classics. So I was sad to find out that each and every one of these supposedly, again, definitive versions are absolute trash. They're so bad that I've got to say it. I think this is a total scam, and I believe this is also going to go down as the Cyberpunk 2077 of 2021. It's actually pretty funny. I saw Poorly Aged Things on Twitter pointed out an article from when Cyberpunk 2077 came out, where the CEO of Take-Two, who owns Rockstar, called out CD Projekt Red for their unpolished, unfinished, really awful product. And it's like, my. How the turns have tabled. Let's actually start off with the good when it comes to this release. There are some much improved textures, particularly the cars, I think look fantastic across all three of the games. Environments look good, there's improved lighting. In some ways, I'll admit, the games do in fact look better than their predecessors. Stress on the word some, because that's about it for the good. Let's move on to the bad. First and foremost, the games, again, all of them, run like complete dog shit. The frame rate is god-awful, constantly dropping while you drive around, not to mention the obnoxious rain effects that regularly makes things even worse. These are PS2 games, and they are some of the poorest performing games I've played on the Switch to date. And I know the Switch is the weakest platform by a wide margin, but I've been hearing there are similar issues with this on other platforms as well. Beyond that, there's all kinds of glitches and game-breaking bugs. And it's like, why? There's absolutely no excuse for these games not to be able to run at a smooth 60 frames per second on every platform, including the Switch, because, once more, these were originally PS2 games. In terms of the improvements to the visuals, everything that looks better, I feel, is completely overshadowed by these mutant character models.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
Like I was saying, the cars in that are a few steps forward, but these models are like 20 steps back. Again, how? How are they not just worse, but much worse than the original versions of these games? Look at this comparison from a video GameSpot did. This was between these, quote, definitive versions running on the Xbox Series X, the most powerful console right now, and the original Xbox versions. If you ask me, the original characters look infinitely better. Look at Big Smoke's head. Look at CJ's arm. In the original, it looks like an actual arm that a human being would have. In the definitive version, it just looks like a blob coming out of his torso. And I would also stress, these are character models for two key characters in the game, so they're the ones you would imagine are going to be some of the best. So I mean, it only gets worse from here. It's a rampant issue throughout the entire game. And even when the models like move and stuff, there's a lot of weird glitchiness to them. Just absolutely unacceptable, in my opinion. So no surprise, immediately this release got tons of backlash. User scores have been plummeting into the Earth's core on sites like Metacritic. People are demanding refunds, but one of the most telling things I saw, because as always, you'll have people claiming this is blown out of proportion. Oh, anyone can give a 0 review on Metacritic. So what I thought was interesting was the Xbox One and Xbox Series X version of San Andreas Definitive Edition was actually made available to Game Pass subscribers. So that's a wide swath of people who can check it out essentially for free if you're subscribed to the service. Obviously, Xbox has achievements and also displays the percentage of people playing a game who have gotten the different achievements in it. And it's looking like barely half the players are getting the achievement for essentially beating the first mission in the game. So to be clear, you've got a lot of people who are able to play this game for free. They're downloading it, booting it up, and quitting after a few minutes, basically. I mean, I'd love for defenders to square that with me. Why are people downloading this game, playing it, and not getting through the first mission of the game? And this is why I say this isn't just a disappointing product, but that it's a complete scam. These are remasters that effectively look and run worse than the originals. As I've been saying, how does this happen? The way I see it, There's no way this game underwent any sort of testing where the consensus wasn't just that it needs more work, but that it needs a complete overhaul. If I was QA testing this game, I would have said this collection needs to get the Prime 4 treatment. The devs should have been playing these games like 6 months ago saying, this ain't it, and we need to do a full-on restart in their development. But what did happen, it has the GTA name on it, so it's probably going to sell okay. And we want to get some of that sweet, sweet holiday cash now, this year. So they said screw it and put out this just atrocious product in a nearly unplayable state. Again, scam. There's no way with each game being so borderline, I'll say it again, unplayable, that Rockstar didn't know exactly what they were doing. And don't give me any of that. I've seen online, just like anytime there's a remaster, remake that's outsourced, people be like, oh, it wasn't Rockstar who developed it, it was this Grove Street Games. Yeah, go look up what else they've done, genius. But whenever we don't have like the main studio developing the remaster, people come out of the woodwork trying to use this BS defense. Like, oh, well, someone else developed it. Rockstar still hired them, okay? The Take-Two big shots signed off on this, gave it the go-ahead, trying to blame this kind of crap on it being outsourced, again, especially in this situation. But anytime when the actual rights holders are the ones who have the final say is just ridiculous. And here's the thing. This package being a complete and utter embarrassment, a scam, isn't even my biggest issue with it. Because not only is this the case, but Rockstar went and removed the original versions of this trilogy from various digital storefronts, Steam, PlayStation Store, their own marketplace, etc. So now, in many places, you can't even buy the superior original versions of these games digitally. You're stuck with these pieces of shit. Again, why? I say this all the time, whether it is a remaster or a remake, these newer versions of games are never a reason to purge the older ones from existence. Even if they were good, like even if this definitive edition was awesome, people were loving it, I would still say those original versions should always be preserved. If you want to experience the originals, you should have easy access to it. Another example of why emulation and access to the ROMs of these past games is so important, because now that may end up being the only way you're able to get a hold of these, again, superior versions of these games, and that's just a travesty. It's kind of funny, leading up to the release of this collection, the big drama was actually around the missing music. Because the soundtracks of these games went a long way in setting the tone, they're a big part of what makes them so great. But now that the games are out, it's like, you wish missing music was the big issue with them. Now, missing music isn't even like something that I find worth mentioning as a negative, because there's these much bigger issues. And I think most, myself certainly, would have accepted, just missing tracks if the rest of each game was at least decent. Like, you can understand how many of those tracks probably cost an arm and a leg to license, and you figure they're selling each game for effectively $20 now. So I'd at least be able to understand why some of that stuff may need to be cut. But making these definitive editions look and play worse than the originals, that's not as understandable. Now, just like with every garbage release, the company has come out and said they're responding to criticism and going to keep pushing out updates. And as a result, you got defenders that are going to be like, oh, just be patient. Why did you expect to have a playable product at release? Yeah, just be patient like with Cyberpunk. Any day now, they're going to make that into the game they promised. I'm sure of it. Given the state of these games, I honestly don't know if they can be salvaged. Like, yeah, they could iron out the performance issues and make it not run like ass, but like these character models, this feels like you need to go back to square one. Seriously, I think the best thing Rockstar could do is not only bring back the original Trilogy collection that they took off storefronts, but also give it to everyone who bought this abomination for free. Because again, like I said, the original versions are way better anyway, and that way at least you could be like, hey, play these versions until we make the other ones better. And yeah, you'd have to get those games running on like the Switch and wherever else they weren't available previously, but I firmly believe even after they've rolled out those patches, the original versions will still be superior, which is just a joke, but for that reason, I think making the effort to make the original versions playable on all modern hardware would be worth doing. But I'm sure the company behind Shark Cards, isn't in any rush to give people something for free. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Certainly stay far away from this collection on Switch, but also any other platform for that matter. Like I said, I highly doubt it's actually going to be fixed to the point where it can be considered the definitive versions of these games. I don't see that happening, but who knows? I could be wrong. Let me know your thoughts on the definitive edition of the GTA Trilogy in the comments. Have you played it? On what platform? Can you believe they botched a collection of PS2 games this bad? As always, I'm the Shy Guy, Johnny Zakari, and thanks for watching.